Welcome, everyone. I'm Jane, your AI-generated host. Get ready for an exciting update conversation between AMC creator William Ford and the incredible pianist Jeffrey Biegel. Known for his captivating performances and deep connection to George Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue, Jeffrey is now on a mission to inspire orchestras across the nation to perform Peter Boyer's Rhapsody in Red, White, and Blue. This piece is a powerful tribute to the centennial of Gershwin's iconic masterpiece, and who better to champion it than Jeffrey Biegel? Also, congratulations to Jeffrey for his well-deserved Grammy nomination in the Best Choral Performance category. Don't miss our previous conversation with Jeffrey at atlantamusiccritic.com or youtube.com/Atlanta Music Critic, where we dive into his latest projects, insights, and passion for keeping the spirit of Gershwin alive. Tune in and get inspired. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that we can reach more music lovers like yourself. Also, become a patron at patreon.com/Atlanta Music Critic. Now, it's time to turn it over to William and Maestro Biegel.
I haven't talked to you in 2 years.
It's been
roughly.
2 years?
Yes.
My goodness.
So, in great
Wow.
detail, what's happened during that 2 years? I'm just kidding. But do tell me about the major happenings over this last 2 years for you.
Well, it's basically a journey of bringing new music to the repertoire. I mean, that's really the focus. And I think when we last spoke, I was in the middle of this Rhapsody national initiative, if I even called it that back then. And it blossomed into there are 57 orchestras in this 50-state project now, 2 of which I can't mention yet because they have yet to contract and approve the permission to share their names, because they have to announce the following season before that comes out public. But there are 57 orchestras, 50 states, and there are 45 endorsements for this movement, bringing the country together through the power of music that unifies us through the American flag. And the Rhapsody in Red, White, and Blue is the title, I think, that we probably talked about back then. And the piece had been finished, and I premiered it with the Utah Symphony in June of 2023. And very quickly, I raised all the necessary monies to record it with the London Symphony last November 27. And it came out in time, thanks to Naxos and Peter's quick editing. The next day at Abbey Road Studios, we recorded it at Air Studios in London, and he zipped over to Abbey Road the next day, edited, shipped it off to Naxos, and it came out as he had wanted around the centennial of Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue in February of 2024. So it's still growing. All the performances now are gaining momentum, leading toward America at 250 in 2026. I have to say, all the performances have been really very fine. They're beautiful. The orchestras are playing it spectacularly. Peter orchestrated it in such a smart way that what the project has become is not just another project of commissioning a new piece, but there are some deeper meanings to it. One is, of course, it's the first 50-state project without buy-ins from orchestras, meaning the orchestras don't have to pay a fee to pay for the piece. Peter's not getting paid by the orchestras. I raised all that money outside of the orchestras. But they pay a rental fee for the music, of course, like they would anything else that's not in the public domain. And the other part of it is that it's orchestras of all levels, and they all play it so well. So we have orchestras like Utah Symphony, Buffalo Philharmonic, Pacific Symphony with Carl St. Clair. We just did it outdoors at Great Park Live over the summer, to multiple thousands of people there. And it was for City of Hope. It was a wonderful concert. And then you work your way through the country, through the great orchestras in all the different states. And we've included 3 youth orchestras, New Jersey, which is coming up, New Jersey Youth Symphony, Vermont Youth Symphony, and the Seattle Youth Symphony, which will be in December. And community orchestras, and summer festival orchestras, and summer camp orchestras, the New England Music Camp up in Maine. They played it like it was just incredible. So it's a kind of piece that really touches the soul, touches the American heart of everybody. and it brings them together. I mean, I get rooms filled with people from all sides of the aisles, middle, right, left, upside down, you name it. They're there. They all stand up, they cheer, and they scream. And they have tissues with them after. It's a kind of music that really touches them on a level that is much deeper than anything that we're seeing on any news show, anything going on in the country. The music goes right to their hearts. And so that's that project. And there's more since then.
Have you been playing the solo at all of the performances that have occurred?
Yes. So I'm playing all the concerts, except there was one I couldn't do last year. There was a conflict and someone else stepped in to play it. Other than that, I'm doing all of them. And it's interesting. Sometimes it's just the Peter Boyer Rhapsody, or mostly it's paired with Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. Someone just today asked if I could play it next year with the Leroy Anderson Piano Concerto. So or the Duke Ellington Concerto. I mean, it could go with anything, which is nice. And it doesn't have to necessarily pair with another work, but there are pieces that can go with it. Even my piano concerto, the Three Reflections. So we're giving options to orchestras to do what they'd like. It's like one from column A, one from column B, or just the one.
How did you go about recruiting all the orchestras?
Door-to-door salesman. Mostly through 40 years of contacting people that I've known and knowing how to do it with people I don't know. The orchestras remain, but there's musical chairs. Conductors come, they go from one orchestra to another or have more than one orchestra. Administrators, the same. You have artistic administrators, executive directors, director of operations, board members, musicians. It's just really treating it from the business sense of knowing the people who are behind the scenes and people on the podium and just presenting something that is in reality much bigger than any of us. Mm-hmm. And, I always say with the greatest humility and respect to composers, when I start new projects with them, I try to find projects that are relevant, number one. Number two, projects that are pieces that will be performed after my lifetime. I say, this isn't about me. I love doing this, but it's not about me. This is about the music, and it's not about you. This is about us joining together to build the repertoire for the future. Today's new music is going to be tomorrow's old music. Right. And we need to have that gap filled somehow. So that's how I recruit the orchestras, is really by putting the focus on their communities and their needs and fulfilling that necessity of bringing new music to the fore for their audiences. And I would say over 90% of them have been responsive. Yes, it's like going to sell something door to door. Either they don't answer the door, or they open the door and then they close the door and say, I'm not interested. You get everything. I mean, that's just human nature. It's just the way it is. And if you're selling anything, that's what you're going to get. But obviously, there's been enough orchestras that wanted to do it.
Well, certainly 57 orchestras signing up is quite a bit. I can't imagine that there were a whole lot of orchestras left that would say no.
Many.
Really?
Oh, sure. Oh my gosh. I've had the door slammed in my face more times than it's been open. Oh, of course. There's so many orchestras in the country. And I bring it to the attention of the conductors quite often. And look, I'll openly say it. They think I'm a pain in the neck. What am I going to do? Mm-hmm. It is what it is. Is when you're in sales of any kind, you're trying to sell something that you believe is relevant for them, but they need to believe it is, and they have to embrace it. If they don't embrace it after 2 or 3 tries, it's like the old ball game. On the third strike, you're out. Don't go back to bat. I do that sometimes. I'm like, should I try one more time? I'm like, oh my gosh. You can't beat somebody over the head to make them to believe that something is good for them. You can't. But you try, and when they actually see a success rate and they see that it snowballs and people are embracing it, it creates respect and validity. I think that's when you sell anything. You just have to build up enough support to create something that's valid, respected, and worth joining. So that's how this project unfolded and is still evolving. We could still add orchestras to this that want to perform it into 26, 27, and they'll be listed in the roster of the orchestras with the name of the orchestra and the conductor who's doing it. And that becomes a historic document.
Did you work with the composer in how to, well, design the music, how to structure it, how to?
No, I left him alone. I leave composers alone. They're creating the babies. I don't want to get involved with my DNA. So I leave them alone. They have their own voice and their own language, and creation has to come from within. And if they have interference from the outside in, it disrupts their creative juices. I leave them alone until they send me the music. Once I get my hands on the music, then yes. If I'm like, that's awkward, that jump's not going to happen. I could practice it 5,000 times, and 5,001, I'm going to miss it in the concert. So I want to make sure it's playable for me, but for everybody else after. So there'll be some things technically, or if I feel something doesn't lie under the hands well, and there are other ways to say the same thing, but making it a little bit more pianistically manageable, they're open to it. They're always open to it. To a point. Sometimes I overdo and I get yelled at, but that's okay. I mean, I'm just trying to do my due diligence as a pianist to make it work. So that I always think, is this going to work in concert? I could practice this, but in concert, am I going to be scared to play that and miss it? And then they do it in such a way where it sounds just as effective, but you don't miss it. You don't make a mistake because it's written so well, it lies under the hands well. But I don't get involved in anything. Peter did a great job with this. I mean, really a piece that takes over where Gershwin left off.
This is one of those what if questions, and you can certainly demur from answering it. What if you would have gotten a product that you didn't like?
I wouldn't choose a composer that would do that.
Okay.
I just don't. I have to be very careful because I have to think of their music as a whole. And are they going to be able to create my concept that's going to deliver something to the public that they're going to want to hear again, or somebody else is going to want to play again? So I have to put my thinking cap, my heart and soul cap on, and really be genuinely honest with myself before I ask a composer. You can't ask a composer to write something because you think they're marketable or because you think an orchestra is going to buy it. That's not musically, that's going to bite you in the butt. That's not a good motivation. It has to be, what is this project about? And who's the best person to do it, or who might you consider doing it? There could be any number of people that could do it, and you don't ask them to do it. I typically don't go back to a composer to write something. I did for this, but he said no, wasn't his thing. But I typically don't, especially if it's too close in time to a piece they recently did. The only time I've done that was with Ellen Taves-Willick when she wrote my first big project, The Millennium Fantasy. And 10 years later, she did The Shadows Concerto. And then another dozen years later, she wrote Remembering Ruth Bader Ginsburg for me that I did with Denise Graves. That's the only time. She revised Shadows during COVID for a smaller group of instruments, which I ended up doing, Connor Covington conducting. And other than that, I would say I've played mostly her music. I recorded the Peanuts Gallery too that she wrote. So she's been my most performed composer, but I have not really had a problem. Sometimes you'll get a piece and people say, that doesn't sound like that composer's style. Sometimes they're not happy. They'll buy into it and they'll be like, I'm not happy with that. But hey, it's like buying a plot of land and you hire somebody to build it. You don't know what they're going to build and you don't like it. Hey, but you signed on based on that architect, and that's what it is. Everybody's got their own take
But
on it.
normally, when you're buying a house like that, you have drawing and you have blueprints, and you theoretically should be able to. I've never been able to read a blueprint and figure out how it comes into real life. But did you have outlines or sketches or anything of the music before you saw it in its total?
No, we did it in bits and pieces. And that you say the drawings, the only drawings that conductors or administrators of orchestras would have of a composer's work would be their past pieces. Gives them, like, here are the houses that I've built. Now I'll build another one. Well, we'll hire you based on those houses that you built, those buildings. Frank Gehry. Well, we'll hire Frank Gehry to do a building because we know all the other ones he's done. If it's a composer they've never programmed their music before, that's a gamble. But usually it's something you have an idea. They have other music before you go commissioning a composer to write something. You have to see something. But for this, and I think with all the pieces I've done, no, I don't see anything until they deliver something. For Peter's piece, it's been in installments. So it would be from the beginning moving forward till he got to the end. And I would do them in small pieces and ask him, can we do this? Can we do that? Can I put this hand here? We take that note out there. Little things, or, could you put that in the orchestra? Maybe it'll sound a lot better if they play it than if I try to do it and mess it up. So we do that. You have to be very careful with composers. Composers and their music are like parents and their children. It's like, you're telling me that I'm not telling my kid to do that. Like, I'm not putting that in the violin section. It's delicate balance, but it's all out of respect and mutual goal. And it works out. It always works out.
So now that you're going to be spending a lot of time playing this, traveling all over, what then? What's next?
Coming up in February is the world premiere of Adolphus Hailstork's Concerto No. 3 with the Pacific Symphony, and Carl St. Clair is going to conduct it. And he's, for me, one of the great American conductors, really, truly. And he's been there 35 years. They don't want him to leave, but he's allowed to ease off a little bit, but he's not just leaving, he's transitioning, and he's doing it so respectfully, and it goes both ways for them. That is just one beautiful orchestra, fantastic staff, and he's great. I'm thrilled they're doing this. I've thrown a lot of projects at them, and a lot of them have been no, but sometimes they're yes. So we get to do some nice things together. So that's going to be in February, and actually the South Bend Symphony with Alistair Willis conducting is doing the Hailstork with the Boyer. We're doing both pieces representing Indiana. After that is a project that I came up with earlier this year, realizing the centennial of Gershwin's Concerto in F will be in 2025. And I thought, how about a new concerto to celebrate that? So James Lee III, who's now composer in residence with the Baltimore Symphony, Chicago Symphony, just played one of his pieces last week with Marin Alsop conducting a piece that she had done in Baltimore. And she was music director there. And so he's doing a lot of writing in Baltimore now. So he agreed to do, I said, concerto in what? What do you want to do? He says, well, A, of course. I said, why A? And he said, America. So Concerto in A will have its premiere with the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra next fall, probably in October sometime, hopefully. Most likely with the Duke Ellington New World a-Comin', which is a wonderful piece. Once we announce the date of that, I'll get cracking on trying to bring other orchestras into that project. And again, they don't have to pay for it because the composer's fee is taken care of from the outside. So that'll be a really great piece. I already have it. I just got the second and third movements last week. It's a wonderful piece. It really is. So it's a tip of the hat to Gershwin with some rhythms and blues chords. But other than that, it's James Lee all the way. It's really terrific. He's very excited about it. He writes very efficiently. He got it done. And then the other piece is going to be Melissa Manchester's concerto called Awake. And it's a 5-movement piece. Each one has a character trait title. And it's really very special piece. So we're waiting to see if the premiere will actually take place next summer. They're working on that right now. But Melissa's a wonderful person. Of course, she's on tour now with Funny Girl, playing Mama Rose, and she's one of those legendary singer-songwriters from the 70s that Clive Davis gave her some recording contracts, and she became a star. But she comes from a classical background, which is very interesting. And her father was bassoonist in the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra, so she knows her classics. Wow, she bowled me over with some comments about Beethoven and things like, wow, you know. So those are what's in the works.
You pursue something like, as they say, a junkyard dog. I mean, you really go after it, and kudos to you for that. That's really a wonderful thing.
Oh, call me crazy.
Yeah. Okay, crazy.
Well, yeah, Peter Boyer says that. He talks to the audience before the concert and says, and when Jeffrey tells me he wants to make this a 50-state project, they said, well, you're absolutely crazy. And he's right. But, you know, if you have a product that you think really is valid and relevant, and you believe that it can happen, you reach for it. I remember it was very hard to get a few on board, and we weren't getting to the 50. He says, hey, 43 is 43. I said, it's not 50. There are 50 states. And I'll do what I have to as much as I can to try to make it happen. And luckily it has. And it actually, the 50 states came after the premiere, which was fine because it's a 3 or 4 year project. So it was okay. I was like, well, what's my hurry? I can't expect orchestras to join this now for 25, 26, or 26, 27. No, that's a little, they did though. Some did, but I can't expect it. But they came through. I'm very grateful to them. Yeah. It's
Wondered if there's anything else that you want to cover, talk about, ask, whatever, before we end.
I do. You know, I'm not going to be here forever, and I don't expect to leave him now. But I think it's important for young pianists or any instrumentalists to feel not just they have to win a competition or have a good teacher or get management and play some concerts and play Beethoven and Prokofiev three. It's great. I love it. It's wonderful. We need that. That's part of the evolution of the music. But to feel a stewardship of the kind where they take on a role of being a steward of the music, and if they like it, some don't want to do it. Some it's just not their thing. But add to the repertoire. Now the next 25 years will come up, and all the people that are the age that I was when I started doing it for 25 years. I'm 63, so do the math. Feel as though it's not that you're giving back, you're adding to, you're part of the evolution of music. And it's almost as though if nobody did any pop rock anything after the Beatles, I mean, unheard of. And so feel like getting to know the composers, make friends with the composers in your college, because I did that, and 20 years later, they were writing concertos for me. You just don't know where it goes. And I always say, you know, just follow your yellow brick road, make friends along the way, people that like the Scarecrow, the Tin Man and the Lion, you know, people with brains, a heart, and courage. And you know, there'll be wicked witches and wizards to stop you along the way, and frauds like the wizard who aren't what they appear to be. And they're just that man behind the curtain and has no more power than you do. And, you know, follow that yellow brick road and just, you know, don't take no for an answer. You have to take no for an answer, but don't let it stop you. And, you know, I think that's important. And I think that should be taught in the conservatories, or at least mentored in the conservatories where there are people playing on that level. They have to be able to play on the level of working with orchestras as though they were playing the Grieg or the Liszt or Brahms piano concertos. That's a given. That's the prerequisite. But this is fun. It has to be fun. I've always had fun doing this. Frustrating at times, but it's always been so gratifying to do. And it's not the career path I ever expected. I still play classics. I still play the classic repertoire. And doing all the new music actually enhanced how I approach the classic repertoire. I see the composers as alive, not just a picture on my wall, from 200 years ago. So that would be what I would add, is feeling inspired from the inside out to want to do something like that, or make a difference, or just do something different, or something that is part of the evolution of music.
Excellent. All right. Amen to all of that, by the way.
Oh, thank you. It's just my own mantra. It's just what I've evolved into. It's not going to be the same path for everybody, but times change, technology changes. As technology changed from my picking up a phone and calling conductors at home. Oh my God, I did do that. I got yelled at for it, but hey, you do what you got to do. You have to build relationships. Now you have email, you have social media. You could send video clips. You can go on Instagram. The sky's the limit. Who knows where it's going to go? But it's a good thing if you use it that way and get things done.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, man.
Hey, thank you so much.
Take care.
You too.
Good luck.
Thanks. You too.
Wow! Jeffrey Biegel isn't just a phenomenal pianist, he's a true inspiration. His unwavering dedication to his dreams and his ability to bring them to life is nothing short of extraordinary. Huge thanks to William for giving us this amazing opportunity to dive deeper into the world of Maestro Biegel and his incredible artistry. If you enjoyed this interview, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a beat. Sharing this channel helps others discover the rich treasure trove of classical music content we offer. Here at AMC Presents, we're more than just a channel. We're a sanctuary for music lovers. No negativity, no judgment, just pure celebration of the beauty of classical music. Let's revel in it together. Want to support what we do? Visit patreon.com/Atlanta Music Critic and become a patron at any level. It makes a world of difference. And please leave your thoughts in the comments below. We absolutely love hearing from you and sharing in this journey with our incredible community. And don't forget to watch Jeffrey's earlier interview with William at www.youtube.com/Atlanta Music Critic. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon with even more captivating musical insights. Until then, keep the music alive.